Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel! Today I'm going to be talking about the 10 new to me authors that I am very excited about that I found in 2020. Now, a lot of these will also show up in my top 10 romance reads of the year, and I kind of debated back and forth about picking different authors just to kind of talk about something that isn't just the same thing all the time, but then I thought more about like what I really want these end of the year videos to be are a true representation of what I found and loved this year, and I felt like if I didn't pick the authors that were also some of my top 10, there are some different ones too, it wouldn't be a true reflection of that. So hopefully you're still on board with this. Here we go, we're going to talk about the top 10 new to me authors that I found in 2020. So the first author that I really want to talk about is TJ Cloon. TJ Cloon, y'all. If you're new here, you're about to learn about my love about TJ Cloon, and if you're not, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep gushing about him and never quit, because let me just tell you, this man's books have completely wrapped around my soul. I honestly don't know how else to say it. I am blown away at how he is able to write about such depth of emotion with something that isn't necessarily super fantastic. Now I say that, and his books often are fantastic, right? Like, Wolfsong is a very fantastical book where we have like wolf shifters and fated mates. But then his other book that I've read, you know, I've read this series, not all of it, I've only read up to Ravensong, and I've also read The House in the Cerulean Sea by him, which I absolutely adored. It was completely a perfect fantasy read. And both of them deal with fantastical, you know, plots and characters and things like that. But he also makes it so it doesn't necessarily feel out of this world, right? Like, it definitely feels like something that could happen in your everyday life. And I love how he's able to capture that feeling of the ordinary within a fantasy, but also make you so completely invested in these characters and their lives that you literally just feel instantly bonded to them. You feel like they're real people. You care about everything that happens to them. And it just blows me away at how he is so deft at creating so many strong emotions in you as a reader during the whole experience when you're reading his books. I am just honestly flabbergasted and astounded at the talent that he is, and I just cannot sing his praises enough. I am so glad that I found him this year, and he just is now one of my favorite authors of all time. He is fantastic. I'm probably going to buy pretty much anything he writes. He has definitely become an auto-buy author for me. I have some really high expectations for what he is writing in the next year. Another new to me author this year that is probably not going to be a surprise that she is on my list is Scarlett Peckham. I have read 2 of her books. They were both historical romances, and they both completely blew me away with what she was able to write in a genre that can really feel formulaic at times. I feel like she really breaks out of that and does some really different situations that her characters are in. Now, I will also say that her books really lean heavy on some dark, not necessarily like a dark romance, but like some really dark experiences that her characters go through. And she really, really hits you with the emotion and kind of never quits. And I feel like I am just so impressed at how she can write about trauma and things that happen to characters while really at the end bringing it all together and making it hopeful and happy. And I feel like that is something that makes me feel like her writing style would appeal to fans of literary fiction, but I feel like she does that, and she does it better because she gives you a happily ever after, and she gives you hope at the end, you know? I feel like that is one problem that I've always struggled with literary fiction, is that you just know it's going to be a rip your heart out, stomp it to pieces, and maybe you'll learn some life lessons and read some beautiful words, but also, like, you really kind of felt bad the whole time you were reading it, you know? So I feel like while she definitely can play with some really sadness and some melancholy feelings and some heavy emotional experiences, she is really able to wrap it all up and bring it together to make you believe that no matter what trauma or heartache you have experienced, you can have a happily ever after too. and I just love her writing. I think it's very poetic and very lyrical. I feel like she creates characters that are very real and very flawed, and I am just a huge fan. I just loved her. Another new to me author this year that I am a flipping fangirl for now is the one and only Kresley Cole. I don't know why I slept on this series for so long, let me just tell you, because I freaking love Kresley Cole's writing. From the minute I picked this book up, I was completely and utterly captivated, and I just could not put it down. Her books are so completely addicting. They are so full of action. They're so full of tension. She is so masterful at writing what looks on the surface to just be this really bonkers plot and this really just sexually tensioned, sexually fired world. But then also she puts in so many layers about these characters and how they feel and where they've been and what they're going through and how they're going to overcome it. And I just am completely blown away. Her books are 5 out of 5 steaminess. Like, they are just fantastic, and I just love them. I love them so much. She is honestly one of the writers that I found this year that I was like, where have you been all my life? I just love and adore her. Another book that was a completely 100% splendidly happy surprise is the one and only Juliet Cross. I love Juliet Cross's books. I am a huge fan of her. I feel like she does romantic comedy right. She does sexual tension so dang good. She delivers on the steaminess. She makes worlds that I feel like I am transported to. She creates characters that I can relate to and that I can root for. And I just have the best time when I'm reading her books. I am just blown away. So happy that I found her in 2020. I cannot wait to see what else she writes, and I also can't wait to delve into her backlist. I know that the 3rd book in this series comes out in 2021, and it is one of my most anticipated releases. I think it's called Witches Get Stitches, which I think is an adorable title. But honestly, like, I feel like I read her books in late October, the first one, Wolf Gone Wild. And I was actually gifted that book earlier in the year, like right after it was published. I think I was gifted to it by my friend Laja on Instagram, and it just sat in my Kindle forever, and I finally picked it up because of the Paranormal Romance Readathon, and it instantly became a favorite, and it made me just feel like I was just comforted, you know? It was such a fun, happy, swoony escape. I just can't say enough good things about Juliet Cross. She's fantastic, and I just love and adore her writing and her books. Another new to me author this year is the one and only Pam Godwin. I picked this book up after hearing about several people talk about it, and I honestly was a little bit afraid of it because I know it really deals with some dark themes, but it was also something that really intrigued me. It's a pirate historical romance, and it is very, very dark. Very many trigger warnings for this. If you're interested in reading this, please make sure that you check those out because it really goes to some dark places unafraid to do so. But it was also just so completely beautiful and heartbreaking and just hopeful, and I loved the characters that she was able to create in here, and I was so blown away at her ability to really make me almost hate a character. And then to be able to turn it around and give him this huge redemption arc that made me love him. Like, honestly, blown away. One of my favorite books of the year. There was a time when I was reading this because I read this because Jen from the Book Refuge recommended it to me, and I was like, I don't know if I want to read this. Like, I got to the scene and I was just like so uncomfortable with it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to read it, but you know, I trusted Jen, I trusted her recommendations, and I pushed through, and it just blew me away. This book was fantastic. I loved it so much. Another author that I found this year that I am so excited about and that I cannot wait to read more from is Elizabeth Hoyt. She's a historical romance author. I read 2 of her books this year and was just completely blown away by them. I cannot get over how effortlessly she tells a story and gets you completely hooked from the page 1 and completely invested in the romance too. It was just, honestly, just such a fun time. It was easily one of my favorite reading experiences when I read her book for the first time. I was just like, wow, Don't you just love it when you find an author and you just instantly know that they're going to be a favorite and they have this extensive backlist and you're just like, I'm set for life. Not really, but that was my experience when I read her for the first time. I was just like, yep, this is what I needed, this is what I wanted, this is for me, and I can't wait to find more of her books. I just love her so much. Another author that I found this year that I just was, again, just completely blown away by was Joanne Shoop. I honestly I had some high expectations for Joanne Shoop because honestly the covers are just out of this world beautiful. And I had heard so many good things about this series in particular, but this wasn't the series that I started with her. I started reading her Knickerbocker series with Seasonally Booked Up. That's a book club hosted by Dana Quadrato and Bookish Kelly. And I joined them and started reading some of her older books and honestly was really caught up with her writing. Like, her writing is phenomenal. She is also so great at getting you instantly into the world and instantly hooked with these characters. I feel like she does some really interesting things with the steaminess in her books, and she also really investigates different types of character romantic relationships, like in ways that maybe I think wouldn't appeal to me. Like, she's sort of known that she loves to write her a-hole heroes, and I am not a fan of alpha holes, I'm gonna be totally honest. I don't like alpha holes. I like alpha mellows. I mean, occasionally I like an alpha hole just for fun, but in general that's not gonna become a favorite book of mine. So I was a little wary of that, but I also feel like Joanne Shoop is able to really make those heroes that you kind of don't really like, but by the end you're completely won over with them because of how they love their women, and it's just fantastic. I also really love how she writes about some really, like, her books have a lot of feminist themes. Her women are very independent, very forward-thinking, and I just love and adore that so much, and I just will always reach for books like that because I feel like she talks about those things, but she never does it in a didactic way or in a way that's really beating you over the head with it. It's just such an integral part of the story and to that character's personality that you believe it and you love it and you root for it and you want them to be happy. And I just love her so much, and I can't wait to see what else she writes. Another author that I found this year that really blew me away and took me by surprise was Beverly Jenkins. Now, this was the first book that I read of hers, Forbidden, and again, I was just completely transported into this world. I honestly am not a huge fan of American historicals, even though both of these two authors that I just recently spoke of write American historical romance. But I specifically am not necessarily a fan of, like, Western romances, and I just feel like that's probably because I haven't read enough that I have liked. So when I found this book by Beverly Jenkins, which is definitely a Western historical romance, but we have black main characters who are really just so completely beautifully drawn out, and they have such distinct personalities, and they have such a beautifully epic love story, and I just am completely blown away at the history that I'm learning here. I love that it's an Own Voices book. I am just a huge fan of Beverly Jenkins, and I just am so grateful that I found her this year because some of her books have been my favorites of the year, and I just love and adore them so much. Alright, another author that is new to me this year that I only discovered in June is now my favorite author of all time, and that is the one and only Sarah McLean. I freaking love this woman. I can't say enough good things about her. I am so completely impressed with her writing ability. I am amazed at how clever that she is and how much thought goes into each of her books and how deliberate she is about planning and plotting them and laying the groundwork for books that are years down the road. I'm blown away at the level of just complete love and devotion that she brings into her characters. I am blown away at the chemistry that is between them. I am just completely in love with this woman's writing, and I think that she is just the best historical romance writer that I have ever read. Every single thing that I want in a historical romance, she gives me. She gives me longing, and she gives me deep love and deep emotional connection, but she also gives me really passionate love scenes that are just steamy and just so delightful. She gives me just a clever plot and clever world building. She gives me independent heroines who are strong-willed and the men who love them for that, right? I just cannot get enough of her books. I love her so much. She is my favorite of all time. She is my freaking queen. Sarah McLean, thank you for everything you have done for romance. You are doing the good work, and we are so grateful for you. Like, I just love this woman. Can't get enough of her. Cannot wait to have her on the Rake Appreciation Society show. Alright, the next book that the next author that I want to talk about that I found this year that is new to me is Milli Van. Holy cow, you guys. Again, like, I know I've said I'm blown away by all these authors, but y'all, I was not prepared for how invested I was going to be in this world and how in awe I would be at her writing ability, because she is just like, I'm kind of just like, my mind is blown at how her mind works and how she was able to create and craft this world and this story and have it be equal parts brutal fantasy and steamy and seductive emotional romance. Like, I can't even handle how she was able to do that. I honestly am in awe at how she built this world with all these different creatures. And the political aspect of this too is so completely compelling and interesting and just honestly perfectly thought out. I love how she built this female character, Yvonne, who was so physically weak and broken, but was completely this strong, fierce woman on the inside. I just can't get over this book. This is a masterpiece. This, you know, like, anytime that I think about, like, I like to write. Sometimes I haven't written in many years. I have written a book. It was, you know, indie published. I published it myself. I'm not at all an author that's trying to do that for a living. It's just something that I like to do, that I have an interest in. And when I read this book, I thought, oh my word. I don't even understand how she could do this. Like, it was just perfection. I cannot wait to read more from her. She is an author to watch. I think she's fantastic. Alright, and the last author that I have that I found in 2020 that was new to me that I loved was Britney C Cherry. I found her early in the summer and I just literally went on a binge of pretty much all of her books. And honestly, before I found this book, this was the first one that I read of hers, I kind of stayed away from her because I know that she deals with a lot of heartbreak and a lot of sadness and a lot of things that really can be emotional, and I just felt like I am not prepared to go there. But for whatever reason, you know, 2020, whatever, I just picked this up and just got swept away in her books. Like, I just am blown away by how deep the emotional connection is between her characters. I cannot even handle how she handles such difficult topics, but still has their love and their romance at the forefront. And it just, honestly, she's amazing. She's one of my favorite romance writers. She's another auto-buy author for me. I just can't get enough of her books, and I am just, wow. Like, every reading experience that I have had with her books is just like a completely immersive, enjoyable time from beginning to end. I just love her so much. So, alright, there we have it. Those are the 10 authors that I found this year that were new to me, that I am extremely excited about, and that I just don't want to ever shut up about. So, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have an author that you discovered in 2020 that wasn't on my list that you think that I would like to know, or the people in the comments would like to know, please share that with us, because I tell you what, finding a new author that you love is pretty much one of the best things in the world. Am I right? Thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one.